Welcome everybody to our day of box training and learning. We're very happy to have Jesse Hewling, who did our virtual trainings, if you attended any of those in October or November, and they went so well and had such a large number of people attend that we said, you know what, it'd be great to get them here on site and be in person. And so with that, Jesse, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Paul. Yep. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. Thrilled to be here. My colleague Daniel and I were coming to you from Austin, Texas, and I'm an education consultant here at Box and super happy to spend the day on campus with you all. So this session, it's for you. We're going to be outlining what Box is, talking about some of the basic functionality of Box. We're going to go into a demo, see what it looks like to work in your Box account, talk about some best practices, and then we'll come back to the deck and talk about how we can share content straight from our Box account. And then we'll wrap it up with talking about how we can work on content straight from Box. Again, throughout this session, we'll be hitting on some best practices, tips and tricks, how you can get the most out of your Box account. We do have a formal Q&A at the end. This is coming from I'm usually doing this remote on a Zoom. I was going to say to drop questions in the chat pod. But we have microphones here. You're more than welcome to come up to the microphone at any time. Let us know what your questions are. We got plenty of time after I present to walk through anything. So as I mentioned, this is for you. Send those questions our way. Looking forward to help you out. So again, this is my deck from our Zoom that we had. So we'll just skip this. Let's get into it. So Box. It is going to be a platform for secure content management, workflows, and collaboration. So throughout today's session, we're going to see how you can efficiently work on your content in the cloud and how you can securely keep that content safe, and you can always view who has access to that content. So to kick us off, a few basic benefits of Box. First off, we all will have an unlimited amount of storage in our Box account, and then an individual file can be up to 500 gigs. So very large individual file size right there, and then you can put as many of those as you like in your Box account. You'll never need to delete content to make room for new content like you maybe have done in the past with your iPhone. Just the other day I needed to add an app, was out of space. That's a problem you don't have in Box. Next, we can share content with granular control, and we can share this content with folks at Augusta or folks from outside the organization. And so you get final say as to how long somebody has access and what actions they can take with that content. So we'll see today how we can take advantage of security of Box to make sure that content's not getting out and viewed by people that don't need it. Next, with Box, we keep you up to date by siloing the version history of your content. We all have probably been on an email thread at some point where a file's passed back and forth, and before too long, we may have several duplicates in our downloads folder, or we may not know which version of that file we need to work off of. And that's a problem of the past because in Box, when you open a file, you're always taken to that current version of the file. So there's no question which version needs the edits. Additionally, we have that siloed version history so you can always go back in time. So we get rid of all the headaches that come with email attachments. Additionally, email attachments could have size limitations or formatting issues. So if you share with Box, the recipient sees that file as it was intended to be seen. And again, we have that 500 gig max file size. Finally, once your content is in Box, it's safe and secure, as I've said several times already today, and it's going to be in the cloud. And so if you're on an older computer and it crashes, you're not going to lose your content. Just today, this morning, I'm working off of the computer in this auditorium right now. I'm able to access my Box account from that computer because it's in the cloud. So all you need is an internet connection and your Augusta credentials, and you'll be able to authenticate into Box. There are two primary ways that you can access your content. There's the web application, so that's opening up the browser, whatever you use to surf the web, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whatever it is. You can go to box.com and access your content there. The other way we can access our content is via Box Drive, and this is a tool that can be downloaded to your desktop, and it allows you to stream that content. So if you're used to working out of your File Explorer on a PC or Finder on a Mac, you can download Box Drive and get to that content quickly. With Box Drive, we don't have the full functionality of the web application, but it's very easy to right-click a piece of content, hit view on box.com, and you can take advantage of all of those features. And we're going to be talking about all these in just a moment. Throughout today's session, you're going to see there's not just one way to do any action. There's always going to be multiple ways, and logging in is one of those. We can go to box.augusta.edu, or we could go to box.com, and we can enter our credentials. Regardless of the mode you use to log into Box, we always will be authenticating with single sign-on. So if you ever see the screen on the left, that means you're not logged into Box. You're an Augusta managed user, so click Continue, and we'll take you to your single sign-on page. So let's talk about Box and see what it looks like. And I'm going to start, I want to just show an incognito window real quick. And I am going to beg your forgiveness. I'm regularly a Mac user, so there's a little learning curve being on a Windows machine. So you got to put in the right password. I just locked my screen on accident. There we go. Oh, mamma mia, got to do this again. Enter, send push. I'm going to remember me for 7 days.
It's sending you a push right
It is sending me the push right now, okay. All right, I apologize about this.
Everybody feels the same.
And I'm in airplane mode, so that's, there we go. Let's now get that push. So when you go to box.com, you can hit login, enter your email address, and we'll redirect you to the single sign-on page. And let's get our notification to get back into here.
If you click cancel,
Cancel.
then you can click
Oh, send push. There we go. And we're waiting. Let's see.
Here,
Did I get the
we can
push?
We'll click cancel and do passcode.
So this is a great example of how secure Box is, honestly, and how secure Augusta is. There we go, we're in.
Yeah.
That two-factor authentication, that is a great tool for y'all. All right, getting back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, to keep it simple, go to box.com, hit login. This is our default login page right here. So we'll enter our email address and hit next, and this will redirect you to our single sign-on page. If it does not redirect you to the single sign-on page, confirm that you're using the right email address and there's not any typos in there. So that's one of the great things in Box. If you do something the wrong way, we got plenty of guardrails for you to let you know, hey, double check your work here. So I just was logged in. I'm taken to the single sign-on page. I'm good to go. Because I wanted to expedite my training earlier, I already logged in so we wouldn't have any issues, but you know, best laid plans of mice and men, right? All right, so when we log into Box, we land on the root level of everything that we have access to. This was formerly called the All Files page. Now we've shortened it down to just the Files page. And as a quick side note, the UI has been updated over the last few weeks, months. New icons. There's a lot of great changes coming up in 2026. It's only going to improve the Box experience, so look out for those. All right, so we're in our Box account. Before we look at the content, I want to direct your attention to the top right-hand corner. We have a few icons up here. We have the bell icon, which as we can see, this is our notifications. As things happen in Box that relate to your account, you'll be notified right here. Same concept as with your email, your social medias, etc. Next, we have this little clipboard icon, and I call this out for two reasons. First off, notice I hovered over this and I get a little text box letting me know that this is my task list. So in Box, if you don't know what an icon means, hover over it, and in most cases, we'll let you know. The second reason I hovered over this is because in Box, we have tasks that can be assigned to other folks or to yourself. So this eliminates that need to send an instant message or an email. You can just send a task on a file to let your colleague know, hey, can you review this before our meeting? Can you make this change? And they'll have that task right here, and all collaborators can see the status of the task. This is a great example of a web application only feature we'll see actually in practice a little later on. Next, we have the question mark icon right here, and this is going to be your resource if you need any help with your account. The team has customized this so it links you to the Augusta U Help page, gives you the contact information. Anytime you have a question, please reference that question mark icon, and we can help you out. All right, now let's look at the content in Box. Our folders are going to come in potentially 3 different colors, and they give us insight to the content. The first color is Manila, and notice that this folder here is only going to be accessible to me. At any time in Box, if you want to check, you can always click that folder, look to the right-hand navigation pane, and as expected, there aren't any other names in that list there. The next folder color that you will have is going to be blue, and there's a little duo on there. And a blue folder indicates content owned by Augusta and shared with you. So I can click this folder. Again, now that I look in the right-hand navigation pane, I can see who all has access to this. So in Box, we're very transparent as to seeing who has access and at what role. Now, Othea, she owns this. I'm a viewer. Notice this was added to the Augusta University group. I must be part of that group, and that's why I have access to this. Next to my name is the ellipses, which is our icon for more options. And in Box, from the root level, you can't delete content that you've been added to, but you can remove yourself. So I don't have any choices about any other action, or pardon me, I don't have any other options for actions. Just keep the status quo or remove myself. And I actually need this, I think, so I'm not going to remove myself. Again, this January 2026 folder right here, I can click that folder, and I look to the right-hand navigation pane, and this folder is only accessible to myself and Paul. So again, click the line of the folder, and you can always see who has access and their role. The final folder color you may have is going to be gray, and this indicates content owned by somebody outside of Augusta and shared with you. So there's a little globe icon on it, which means that is our icon for external. So this is an externally owned folder. I could click into it, and notice when I click into it, the colors change because this is actually a Box demo owned folder. And again, now that I'm in here, I can see exactly who has access. So all these folks have access to this folder. So to summarize, Manila is personal, blue owned by Augusta and shared, gray owned by somebody from outside of the organization. So if I was to add you all to a folder, it would show in your Box account as gray. All right, now let's talk about adding content to Box. We have the new button right here, which is active, which lets us take a lot of different actions. But as best practice, we encourage you to create a personal workspace for yourself and work out of there so that you don't have content sprawl. I have created a workspace right here, so I'll give it a click. And we can see all of this content that I have in my personal folder. And again, just quick browse, I could see I have personal folders, and then I've also shared some of these subfolders within here. So let's explore the new button, talk about some of the features that we have here. From the new button, we can create new content. So let's create a brand new folder. If I click folder, I can name it to whatever we want, January. And there we go, I have a brand new folder created real quick. Behind every folder and file name is gonna be a little pencil icon. And so if you ever change your mind on what you wanna name something, you can come into here, update it, and it takes immediate effect. If you ever don't see that pencil icon behind a file name, that's because either you don't have edit access to it, or a colleague is editing that file, and therefore you cannot rename a file that's in edit mode. A few other ways that we can get content into Box. From that new button, we can upload content. So if I want to upload a specific file, I could come to here, navigate to a file, hit upload, or hit open, pardon me, and that will initiate an upload. So again, new file or folder upload will open up Finder or File Explorer, and then you can navigate to the content you'd like to add to Box. Again, I said earlier, there's never just one way to do things, there's always multiple ways. Another way to add content into Box is by navigating to our File Explorer, right here. And then I could select content from my computer and then simply drag Drag and drop it into the browser, and it will initiate an upload, just like that. So new file or folder upload, or simply drag and drop into Box. Another great thing about Box here is that we silo the file history together. So notice if I take the, let's see right here, my contract, this already exists in this location. If I drag and drop a file to a location where it already exists, we will see it already exists. Oops, must not have already existed in there. And then we will silo that together. So notice as I drag and drop this in here, it turns to V2. So as long as the name and the file extension are identical, instead of creating a duplicate with an ugly timestamp at the end, we'll just silo that all together. Another function of the new button allows us to create brand new content of these different file formats. So if I wanted to create a brand new Word document, instead of opening Word on my desktop, creating the file, working on it, saving it, manually uploading it, I can do that all in one action by simply clicking Microsoft Word, and we'll call this just test doc. And now Box will work with Microsoft locally on my computer. We'll open that file up. I can make the changes. We'll just make, here we go, make it all bold and underlined, just so we could see. So I'm using Microsoft Online right now. Changes are auto-saved. I can close this out, and that file will be pushed up over into Box in just a moment. Keep in mind, there are two tools working in concert right now, Box and Microsoft, and so there is a little bit of latency, not much, and as we can see, that file is already right here in Box. So again, the new button, choose your file format that you'd like to create, and just have the origination in Box. This saves you the step of having to upload it later on, and if you're in a shared folder, you can just create it, and everybody will have access to it. All right, so now that we got content in our Box account, let's talk about some strategies for staying organized. At the moment, my content is being organized by the updated column, and we're going in descending order, but I can reorganize by the name column or the size column, but notice that we always organize by folders first and then loose files. Quick tip with organization, if you need something to be at the top for quick access, numbers will come before the alphabet, so that's why I've annotated these 1 dot folder name 2 dot, so that when I organize in alphabetical order A to Z, we have them up at the top. So again, we always will be organizing by folders and then loose files. It's very easy to move content around in Box. If the destination folder that you would like it to go to is on screen, you could simply drag and drop it into the folder, and we'll move it just like that. And then you have this action confirmation bar that will pop up. So if you change your mind, you can always hit undo, and we'll pop that file back to where it formerly was. Now, what if the destination folder is not on screen? Great question. What you can then do is either hit More Options or right-click the file or folder and then select Move or Copy. This will now open up the folder tree of everything that you have access to. So now you can either type in the name of the folder you'd like it to go to, or you can navigate to where you'd like it to go. Let's say I just wanted my January 2026 folder. I can select the folder and then choose to either move or copy. I do want to double click into the difference between these two. Self-explanatory, but I want to make sure we're clear. Moving takes a file and all of its history and puts it in the new location. Where if you create a copy, it's only a duplicate of the current version of the source file. So if you have, let's say, 12 versions of a file, you have annotations, a lot of work in there, and you want to share it with somebody externally and you don't want them to see the work, that's a great opportunity to select a copy. So you will have a duplicate, but the history of that file will not tag along with that duplication. So again, I can hit move in this instance here, and we have that confirmation bar up top. All right, so that's how we can move content around. As your content fills up, you may not remember where everything is at. So it's only natural. You're not going to remember all of your folder paths, and we have a very robust search tool here. It lives at the north side of your page. So you can always type in a keyword if you'd like. So let's just look up, I'm going to look up in Creo. And first off, before I hit enter, I want to call out that our search defaults to where you currently are. I'm in my Huling workspace folder, so we're only searching throughout that. If we want to expand our search to everything you have access to, I can hit everywhere, hit enter, and now we're going to look through everything that I have access to for that keyword in Creo. Our search, for example, we could search by a phrase too. So like if I want to search what is in Creo, let me just type that in real quick. The search now is looking for every piece of content that has the word what, is, and in Creo. So this is going to be quite kind of a large net that we're casting. If you want to search only for that phrase, what is in Creo, we can put quotation marks around it, and now we will only show content that has what is in Creo. So that's a strategy right there. If you're looking for through a document, if you want to find a document that has a particular phrase, put quotation marks around it, and we will show that. Without quotation marks, imagine there's an or statement in between each word. So you're saying, box, find me what documents that have what, or is, or in Creo. So quotation marks is specific, not quotation marks, there's an or statement. Please. Great question. Great question. So that leads me to my next point. Our search is very robust, and by default, we are looking through all of these elements. We're looking through comments left on files, we're looking through descriptions of files, the file and folder names, and the file contents, and tags if there are applied. So by default, we're looking inside of the file. You have the option to choose one of these if you'd like, but you could just leave these be, and we will look through all of those. So as we see in our results, what is in Creo is highlighted right here. So this is in the actual file. I believe we looked through the first 10,000 characters or so of the file. And that leads me to my next point. When you add content to Box, if you upload something and then immediately search for that file, it won't show up. And the reason being is there's a latency between it being able to show in a search because we're scanning it to ensure it's safe and secure, and we're indexing it so that you can search through it. So there is, I'd say roughly 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how much content you're loading, of a wait time before it can show in search. Thanks for that question. That was awesome. A few other ways that we can filter our search. I'm actually going to go back to my Boolean search real quick. A few other ways we can filter is by the type of content. So if you're looking for what is in Creo, so everything that has those three words, we want the decks that have that, you could choose that. You can choose the upload or updated window. So if a colleague added something in a particular time frame, you can call that out. You can use the custom range or use a preset time frame. If you want to only search the titles, you could do that. And then as I showed earlier, we have our full suite of options right here. So a lot of ways to filter and fine-tune your search. Another pro tip, if there is a search that you're going to use frequently, it is reflected in the URL bar, and you can bookmark this in the browser. So if you wanted to save this search, let's just update the last month. Let's see if anything shows. There should be something. Yeah, so if you want to run a search for what is in Creo, show me presentations that have been updated in the last month, you can bookmark this in your browser right here, and then since it's now bookmarked, I can hit that save search and it will run it. So that's a really great advantage of the search functionality in the web application. So again, the URL is what reflects the filters we've enabled. Once you've found the content you're looking for, you can easily drag it to your favorite so that you don't have to search for it every time. Or you can curate a custom collection. So if I wanted to curate my January projects, I could create this collection here. And now, as I navigate throughout Box, I can drag and drop files or folders here. And then I can look to the left-hand navigation pane to quickly get to those items. So files or folders can be put into the collections, and then you can get to content straight from there. With collections, these are just for personal use. So I cannot create a collection, share it with the team. It's just for the content you want to get to quickly, so it's up to you to curate it. And then you're not affecting anybody's access. So don't worry about adding something to a collection and worrying about somebody losing access to it, just for you. Two final ways to get to content quickly. We have the recents carousel that you could toggle on or off. We also have the recents files where you can hover over the files icon and it'll show you a quick overview, or you can hit recents and this will show you the last 1,000 access files for the last year. Another pro tip is if a file has been updated since the last time you opened it up, there'll be a little updated icon right here. So look out for those. Those indicate somebody else other than you has made some changes to it, and it's just your little call to action that you might want to check it out and see what's new. All right, let's hop back to the deck and let's talk about what it looks like to share content now straight from Box. All right, there are two ways to share content in Box. We have the ability to create a shared link, or we can invite folks in as a collaborator. So a shared link, it's going to be a unique URL that points somebody to a piece of content. A great use case for this is, let's say I'm working on a deck and I needed Paul to review the deck. Instead of downloading it outside of Box, instead of doing that, uploading it to an email attachment, Paul opening his email, downloading it. It's complicated. I'm getting annoyed just telling this process. We could simplify that with the shared link. I create the shared link for the deck. I send it over to Paul in an email. No further actions. Paul clicks that shared link. He opens up the email. He can make his changes, leave comments, whatever it is, and I've just pointed him directly to this. I can then also look at the content insights on that deck, and I can see when did Paul look at that deck? What actions did he take on that deck? These are all features that we do not have with an email attachment. So shared links, great for short-term, quick sharing, pointing somebody directly to a piece of content. When you need somebody to have long-term access, that's when you're going to want to invite them in as a collaborator. So are you working together on a project for the next few months, and some folks need to supply documentation to you? Do you need to collaborate on decks, Word docs, whatever? That's when you're going to want to add folks in as a collaborator. So this is just a quick overview of the difference between a shared link and inviting a collaborator. The long and short of it is invite collaborators when folks need to edit content and they need long-term access. Shared links is for quick access, pointing somebody directly to a piece of content. When it comes to collaboration, we have quite the range of roles to choose from. So it's not hyperbolic when I say you have granular control and final say. The roles range from co-owner, where it's carte blanche, you can do whatever you want with the content, all the way down to the highly restrictive uploader. So you're not seeing things. If I need somebody to simply upload, I don't want them to view the content in the folder, I can add them as an uploader, and that's all they can do. This screen cap here is an overview of all the roles, but not necessary to commit to memory, because when you go to add a collaborator in Box, we always show you all of the roles available and the associated actions. So you're always aware of what permission you're about ready to hand off to folks. Another thing in Box, we use persistent settings, and so that means that you can change your mind as to what role they have. If I add my colleague Daniel to a folder as a viewer, that means he could download, preview, and share that link. But if I decide, actually, I need Daniel to work on this deck with me, I can bump his access up to editor so that he can edit that deck, and it takes immediate effect. So can't stress that enough. There's no such thing as a permanent mistake. You can promote, demote, remove altogether. You never relinquish control of your content. So how do the permissions work? Well, we use waterfall permissions, which means that the access cascades down. So as we see here, we see a bunch of manila folders, which if we recall from earlier, that means they're personal. I'm the only one that has access to them. I add a couple colleagues to the vendors folder. Let's say I add them as an editor. That means, first off, the vendors folder changes blue, so I have the visual clue that it's being shared. And then that access cascades down to all the subfolders below. So I added them as a vendor, or added them to the vendors folder as an editor. They get editor access on everything below. Now, if I was to add them to the Encreo folder instead, that means their access starts here, cascades down, and they no longer have access to the Acme, nor do they see the Encreo as a subfolder. So very important to consider where we're adding people to content in Box, because that access cascades down. A benefit of this is, one, it's easy to audit to see who all has access, but also, now that I've added my colleagues to that Encreo folder, I can add more content here, and they automatically have access to it. I don't need to re-add them to things. So we create more decks, create another subfolder, they automatically get that editor access to the subfolders. So when folks are added to content, we see it on our root level all files page. Again, blue means owned by Augusta and shared. A gray folder would be a folder owned by somebody from outside of Augusta and shared with you. Another side point, you can add people directly to a file as well. So it doesn't have to just be a folder. You can add people to a file, and when you do that, there's only two options though for roles. It's viewer or it's editor. And that's simply because you don't have the range of actions that you can take on a file as you can with a folder. Next, you see that content on your all files page, you get the notification, and you receive an email letting you know that you've been invited in. You're only notified upon the origination of the collaboration. If I change the roles, if I remove you, you're not notified that I've changed you up to editor or down to viewer or whatever. It's just that first time. Another great thing about Box is that if you need to work with somebody from outside of Augusta and you don't know if they have a Box account, but you have their email, no worries. Add that email as a collaborator. They will receive an email, and if they have a Box account, they'll be able to start collaborating at the role you assign them right away. If they don't, they still receive the email, and instead of this button saying go to folder, it'll say accept invite. They give it a click, they're taken to a form, 25 seconds, depending on how fast they type, they can create their free Box account and then start working with you. So there's Box is a conduit of collaboration. We're not going to have any speed bumps just because somebody's from outside of the org. So enough deck. Let's see what all this looks like live in action. All right, we're at the root level of my all files page. I didn't call this out earlier, but if you hit the little caret next to files, this shows you the folder tree of everything you have access to. So another quick way to get to content. Now, I want to share some content in my workspace, and notice as I hover over my workspace, I have two icons that we're going to be working off of. I have the share icon, and I have the create and copy a shared link icon. So those are quick shortcuts to collaboration, but I want to start with adding collaborators, but I am not going to do this at the root level because that would give them access to everything in here. My decks, other work, all this stuff. I want to just, for today, let's add some folks to my 301 content materials. So again, this is Manila. I'm going to come over here, and I can hit the share icon, or I can select the folder, and by doing so, it activates all these buttons up top here to work on the folder I have selected. So again, two ways to add collaborators here. Select the folder and hit share, or hit the share icon. So I'll hit this. And now I can type in the names of folks. So as we type in names, I'm just going to use Paul for today. I'm in, Paul, what's your email, Paul, again? P.A. Wheeler. There we go. So notice all managed users of Augusta will auto-populate as we type in their names. There's a lot of Pauls here, so I'm going to pop him in there real quick. I'm going to also add, there we go, actually, let me just change that. So I just added that email, and then I'm also going to add one more. So a few things to call out. First off, Paul does not have a globe next to his name. That's because he's an Augusta managed user. So I know he's in the organization. These other two have globes next to their name. They are from outside of Augusta, so that's my clue right there. So look for that globe, and again, we do have a key at the bottom. If you're curious, the globe, again, says the content's about ready to be shared with folks from outside of Augusta. After we've added the email addresses of the collaborators, it's time to choose the role. By default, it's editor access. We can hit the triangle next to editor, and these are all the roles available to us to potentially give to these collaborators. So notice, again, all the roles and underneath are the associated actions. So I'm going to go conservatively here with viewer. There's one role per invite, but that's okay because if I change my mind on any of these folks, I can update it in just a moment. You always have the option to send a custom message if you like, I'm going to keep it plain for now, and I'm going to hit send link. Before I do this, watch this folder real quick. I hit send, and that folder is going to turn blue. So now I have a visual clue that it is shared. With that folder selected, I can look to the right-hand navigation pane, and I see myself, Paul, Eddie, Mike, we all have access to this. Just to compare real quick, if I unselect the 301 content folder, there's no names here because I'm looking at my workspace roster. January 2026, no names here either. But the 301, we got some names. All right, so next to each name is our ellipses, the more options icon, and this is where I can change their role. So Paul, you know what? I'm going to bump him up. We need to collaborate. I'm going to give him editor access. That takes immediate effect. So if you're ever in a folder and you have, let's say, viewer access where you can't edit the content, if you need to edit that content, reach out to the owner and ask them to update your access, because only the owner and the editor, they can update you if desired. Now, Eddie, you know what? We're not going to work together anymore. I'm just going to remove him. He now, when he logs into Box, he no longer has access to this folder. So again, great example of you have final say of who has access to the content at what role. Finally, Mike here, it says pending, and I can only resend the invite or remove him. And what this means that it says pending is one of two things. The first is that Mike has a Box account and he disabled the auto accepting of invites. So that means until he accepts the invite, I can't change his role. The second thing that it could mean, which is more probable, is that he doesn't have a Box account. So until he creates that Box account, I can't modify the role. That's why, as best practice, if you're about ready to add somebody to content from outside the org and you're not sure if they have a Box account, add them at the lowest role necessary, just to be safe, because you'd hate for them to be on the other side of the world. They got the invite, create the Box account, and you accidentally give them editor access, and they have a few hours before you notice they have editor access. So we encourage you, go with the lowest role necessary. You can always promote if needed. Going back to my earlier point, you can click any of these names if you're not sure their contact information. So if you need to promote your access, or if you don't have the access to add somebody and you need somebody added to content, click the name and you see the full roster of who has access along with their contact info. So if Paul needed to add somebody, he could just reach out to me here at my email address. So again, full transparency for collaboration here. If I wanted to send this folder directly to Paul, I could create a shared link by clicking this link icon. But shared links are a lot more fun to do on a file, and I'll show you why. So let's actually just have fun, and we'll go and do a dog picture here. So I got some dog pics. I want to send this file directly to some folks. I can click the shared link icon. And by doing that, it automatically creates the shared link and copies it to my clipboard. And I want to open up an incognito test because I want to demo Box Security live in action. So let's reorganize some windows here so we can see what this looks like. All right, I got my shared link. There we go. So I'm in an incognito window that is not logged into Box. So we could send that shared link to somebody. They can hit the link. And that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, actually, that is what I wanted to do. Sorry. The link right now is people in your company. So I'm not logged into Box. This is an Augusta link. It's locked down. Box is saying, hey, log in to Augusta, and you could see this. Now, if you were sending this to somebody from outside the organization, they would say, not a part of Augusta, and they would be taken to this login screen right here, and then they'd be encouraged to log in. If you need to share something with somebody from outside the org, you don't want them to log into Box, you can change the audience to people with link, and now paste that link in, and that file is accessible to them. So our audience options for shared links are people with link, logging in is not required, our colleagues at Augusta and invited collaborators, or only invited people. So if I have this set public right now, I change my mind and I say, hey, only folks that have access to this folder should be able to access this link. So I can click that, and it takes immediate effect. So I'm going to go back to people with link. Let's just Oops, let's just pop that back in there. Great. So let's talk about a few more security settings that we have here. So right now in this scenario, I'm sending this to somebody from outside the organization where logging is not required. If I don't want them to be able to download a copy locally to their computer, I can come here to More Options, and I can hit View Only. And then notice this download button is going to disappear. So there may be instances where you don't want folks to have a local copy, you just want them to view the file in the browser. You have that option. You can also expand this to Can Edit, but that would mean that the recipient has to have a Box account in order to edit the content. So that's seldom used, but it is an option if necessary. A few other security options, if we go to Link Settings, we could set an expiration date. So if I want you to have a picture of my doggo and I want you to only have access through tomorrow, I can set that. And now there'll be a little clock icon. So if you ever see a clock icon, that means something's about ready to expire, and you can hover over it and find out when that expiration date is. This next security feature, this is only for public shared links. You can require a password. So enable a password right there, add it in. Oops, type real quick. It's got to be 8 characters long. Hit save. Now if I refresh the page, that security process takes immediate effect. So let's say you're sending something to somebody from outside of Augusta. It is a sensitive document potentially. You want to ensure only the recipient opens that up. Well, add the password, email them the shared link, text them the password. Don't put the two together. Also, I was asked this, somebody said one time, well, hey, I sent the password in an email, and I sent the shared link in another email. And I said, was it from the same account? And they said, yes. I was like, not good. Same account. If your email gets compromised, you're not going to have a good time. So text the password, email the shared link. And then the recipient has those, they get in there, and they could get to that password. Or pardon me, they can get to the file once they enter it. Another question that frequently comes up is, what if I forgot what my password is that I popped in here? Well, as the owner, you can always disable that requirement and redo the process and start from scratch. Again, all these settings take immediate effect. Finally, to wrap it up, this shared link, as I said, it auto expires January 16th. So that means post January 16th, you click the link, you will not get to the content. If you don't want to wait until this expiration date, you at any time can toggle this link to off, and all of our shared links are one and done. So as soon as I hit OK, this shared link will never work again. And then I come over here, refresh the page, and as we see, we don't have access. So a few benefits of the shared link here that are advantages over an email attachment. If you sent an email with the wrong file, you can't get that email back. The recipient has it. Whereas here, you send a shared link, but you create a shared link to the wrong file, you could disable that shared link, no harm done. That has happened. I have been on customer calls, meant to send the deck, but I accidentally sent the link to my personal notes on the project. I disable that shared link, no problem. I just correct it with the correct, or I fix it with the correct shared link, and we're good to go. So a lot of issues with email attachments that are solved with a shared link. Now, I said shared links are more fun on files than they are on folders, and the reason being is we have our content insights. So if I select that file that I created the shared link for, and I look to the right-hand navigation pane, I can see the history of how many times it was viewed and by whom. So here, just now in this demo, I was in an incognito window that was not logged into Box. So while that link was set to public, it recorded my general location, Augusta, GA, and the IP address. My name is recorded earlier because those are times when I access this while logged into Box. So if I sent this to all of you and you were logged into Box, your name would be here in the Content Insights. Some benefits of Content Insights, again, over an email attachment. When you send that email, the only way you know that the recipient viewed the file you sent them is if they respond to the email or you're in conversation with them. With Content Insights, I can send the content to Paul, see that he looked at it, and then I can send him a follow-up message being like, hey, Paul, did you have any thoughts on that file? Or, you can also, if I didn't see Paul's name listed, I could send him a follow-up saying, hey, did you get a chance to look at that? Can give him a nudge? So the Content Insights can be a productivity tool for you to take next steps in a process, confirm who's seen it, Or a great feeling is when you've sent somebody some work and then you see names of people that you did not send that to. So you could see, oh man, maybe my boss really liked my work and shared it with the team. So full disclosure as to who's looking at the content and what actions are being taken on the content. Yes? Mm-hmm. So if I sent it to all of you, well, the answer is no. Because if your name's not listed, then you didn't look at it. So if I sent it to you, yeah, you're not listed there, didn't see you. So, yeah. Yes? Mm-hmm.
No, that was me this morning that sent that email that everybody just got. It was unexpected sending that email, but it's our box sign documentation that's located in Box. And so that link was from us fixing the permissions on it so that everybody had access to it.
Oh.
Sorry for the confusion. It was,
No worries. All good. Yeah.
you can repeat the question that people asked?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. What was our first question now? Yeah, so our first question, just to repeat them, yeah, apologies. Our first question was, if you send content out to folks, is it possible to see who hasn't looked at it? And ultimately, no, their name just wouldn't be listed there. So if you know exactly who you sent it to, you got 10 people, and you only saw 6 names, you could go back to your list of 10 and figure out the 4 that didn't. I can't remember, was there another question on that? I can't recall right now. All right, let's talk about working on content straight from Box. And so I'm going to get to a piece of content, not that one right there, that's my deck. I want to work on my Encreo deck. Let's see, I'm just going to search for it real quick because there's a lot of data points on this deck. It is right. Can't remember where it's at now. Apologies. Actually, I'm just going to go to my recents to find the file because there's plenty of data points on this one Encreo deck. I'm going to go through here. Is that it? No, that's not it. All right, we're going to go fresh. All right, so we talked earlier about working on content straight from Box, and so we can open up our deck and just give it a click. Again, I didn't say it earlier, I meant to. All those skills you use on your desktop, bring them into Box. So when you navigate to a file, navigate throughout folders on your desktop, it's the same concept here in Box. Now I opened up this deck, I see it as it was intended. Again, that's another advantage over the email attachment. We've all probably sent something out and the recipient sees a wonky Word document or a weird PowerPoint because they don't have the fonts on their computer or whatever the issue is. Here, when you open it up in the browser, you're always going to be view the current version and see it as it was intended to be viewed. So to work on this file, we're going to click Open. You do not need to download it and pull it out of the Box universe and work on it locally. We can click Open, and I'm just going to open it with Microsoft for the web. And then I can make changes here. I just move some stuff around, and then we'll just change the background color. Oops, we'll just do that. And I can close this out, and those changes will be pushed over in just a moment. We have Microsoft co-authoring enabled, which means that we can work in real time with colleagues on a file. We can use Office Online to work on real time or Office on our desktop. And so in a moment, I'm going to get an action confirmation bar right there. So any collaborator that has this file open right now, they all get this action confirmation bar and they can refresh the page and now they can see the current version of the file. So everybody comes to it, They see those changes I just made. From the preview, I can leave an annotation on this file. So if I come right here, I could mention somebody that has access to this file. Actually, I think it's a personal file. Actually, yeah, we'll ping Claudia. Can you update the font color? And now this comment is going to be left in the activity pane for Claudia right here. The other way I can leave an annotation is in the activity pane. I could also, again, mention a colleague that has access to this. We can mention Fernando. We'll just call it a test comment. And a real quick A/B test of these two different modes of commenting is, first off, the one I left for Claudia has that golden donut, and so that means if I click it, it will take me to the version and the location on the file. So if I'm on slide 4, I can easily click this comment and it takes me back to it. Whereas this other comment I left, it's just on the activity pane. It'll live right here. It's not attached to a version of the file or to a location. So I just left this message for Claudia. I could take it a step further and add a task for her. So we'll hit Add Task, hit General, assign it out. Just say update the deck, give her a due date if necessary. You don't have to give a due date, but now I just created this task, and all collaborators that have access can, in addition to our conversation, they can see the status of the tasks. Yes, got a couple questions.
Okay, so with that, does the person have to have access to the file, or if I go and post a comment and add somebody, will it automatically add them as a collaborator?
Oh, great. So the question is, if I mention somebody, will it automatically add them as a collaborator? So when you hit the sign, only folks that already have access to the file will be an option. So you would have to add them as a collaborator first, which if you want to add somebody ad hoc, you could do that right here, and they would be only on this file, not the folder. So yeah, only folks that have access to the file can be mentioned and can be added as a task on the file. Awesome question. And by mentioning, they get notified. So Claudia and Fernando, they're already collaborators. They got an email and they got a notification on their bell icon. Miss, was there another question? How I got to the ad. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so to leave a message, you can highlight a section, or you could come over here and you can highlight text. So if you're on a Word document, you could highlight a paragraph or whatever. But wait, there's more. I feel like the guy from Apple at his conferences. You can also, if you'd like, draw on a file and then hit Add Comment. And this one's behind that bar for some reason, which I'm not sure why. So when you do that, either drawing, either highlighting text, either pulling the box, then your comment box comes up, and then hit your @sign. And notice here, as I hit the @sign, I didn't hit any initials. I already see, didn't want to do that. Hit my @sign, and I see already who all has access that I can ping. So any of these folks are eligible for me to ping on them, on this file. So we'll ping Francois. So here, we're having our full conversation here. So this is not hidden behind an email thread. We can have this conversation right on this file, right in Box. Again, coming back to email attachments, the problems with it. If I pinged just Claudia about this, all those other folks don't see the conversation we're having. We're keeping this safe and secure in Box. We're all collaborating. We're all in the know about this process, the progress we are making on this file. So again, highlight a section or go to the activity pane to mention somebody. And you don't have to mention. You can simply just leave a message if you'd like, and then folks will see it. And then we can do our task right here. Now we're on V3 of this file. We can see our full version history under the Content Insights. So I hit Details, look to the right-hand navigation pane, and we have our Content Insights. And again, I have a bunch of action points here. You can see all my comments. And then I can see my version history. Now, I really don't like that orange. We can go back in time, and let's go back to current. Let's go make current. We can go to V2 and I can promote that. And now we're going to have a fourth version of the file. So if you're working on a deck, you mess it up, don't worry about it. Just come in here, make an older version the current version. So you can always go back in time. So if a colleague messes up, if you just like an older version better, you can always go back in time. Want to differentiate the preview of these files versus Excel or CSV files. If you're looking at a spreadsheet, the preview is dynamic in that you can reorganize columns from the preview in Box without opening it up. And because of that, you cannot preview historic versions of the file. Whereas Word documents, images, I think pretty much every other file format, you can go back in time and see what it formerly looked like. So just want to differentiate that right there for you all. So if you're ever on a spreadsheet and you're like, I can't see V3 of that spreadsheet. If you need to look at a historic version, you'd have to go over to here and download it locally and then view that historic one. Yes, you could promote an older version, but you kind of be flying blind. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Great call out there. You can also make an Excel spreadsheet, promote an older version. I haven't hit on this. We're going to talk more about it later this afternoon if you join us. But throughout Box, we have our Box AI button right here. And so any file, you're going to see Box AI, and you can give it a click. And we have preset prompts for you. So if you just want a summary of a file, you can easily hit that. But what I really like about this is, like, let's say I need to write an email to the team. You could say, as the HR director, write a 2-paragraph email about this project and invite them to come to the call next Friday. So I can come into here, write my prompt using Box AI, and this will generate the email. Again, using AI, this is your unpaid personal assistant. They're unpaid, so definitely proof their work and read through it. Don't just copy and paste this into your email. But using Box AI, I just went and I have source content here. I can copy this, revise it, whatever I'd like. This is an awesome tool. So Box AI, in addition to summaries, it can help you create content, create emails. This could translate for you. It could, honestly, there is no ceiling to Box AI. I encourage folks to be as creative as possible. The only way to find out if it doesn't work is if you don't try it. Just ask every question of Box AI. There's a lot of cool updates coming with AI in this new year, but at the moment right now, I just want to encourage you, you can use Box AI there. As you're navigating throughout Box, let's go into my personal folder. I think I have a CSV folder in here. You could select multiple files, and you can query multiple files here. So give me a quick overview. So again, I'm not sure honestly what's in these CSVs. They're just demo content, but Box will take those multiple files, analyze them, and give me a quick overview. And so you could do a lot with this. Other examples, writing, okay, I guess these are hockey stats right here. So this is an overview of these CSVs of hockey stats. So a few other use cases for Box AI, in addition to writing emails based on content. You could, if you're needing icebreakers, if you're needing quiz questions, you can have that help you out there. Just be as creative as you'd like with Box AI, and it helps get extra insights out of your content. All right, we are at the top of the hour. So actually, the last two things I wanted to show real quick, we're going to double click into this a lot further this afternoon, is Box Sign. And from our content here, we can get a signature on pretty much any visual file format. Can't get a signature on audio or movies, obviously. But I have a contract here, and Box Sign lives in this little column here. We can request the signature. And so if I needed to get this signed, all you need is the recipient's email address. Actually, for just demo purposes, I'm just going to sign it myself right now. But all you need is the email address of the recipient, and then drag and drop the signature field, assign that to that email that you added. I'm just also going to put the date sign field in here. And then you can change, we're gonna be talking about this in much greater detail this afternoon. You can change where the saved document goes. You can update the email that goes to the recipient. You can send reminders to the recipient. You can also set an expiration date. So you don't need to be the one looking at the calendar. You can say, if you need something signed by the end of the month, you can set how many days you want that, and then it'll auto expire if they come back in February to sign that. So let Box be your assistant here. And then for files that are frequently used, you can save them as a template so that all you have to do is enter the email of the recipient in the future, and everything else will already be taken care of for you. So now once you hit send request, and again, just for time, it's me being the signer, this will be the end user experience. Again, the recipient does not need to have a Box account. They give that a click, adopt a signature, and we are done. So that is signed, and then you can look in your Box Sign dashboard, get there by going to the left-hand navigation pane, and you can see the status of historic signature requests. You can see what's expired, what's in progress and completed, and then when you go to these, you can view the details and see that signed document in your Box account. So again, we'll be talking about this in greater detail this afternoon, but just want to call out, it's very easy to get a signature on a file using Box Sign. Yeah. Oh, great question. And the question is, what if you have multiple recipients, and how do you size the box? We're going to talk about this afternoon, but here, I'll show you real quick a few things. Take a contract. Oh, that's the signed one. Sorry, I don't want to sign that one. Let's just take my source contract right here. So when I request a signature, we can put in multiple people. And I don't want to accidentally scare that person from Augusta here. I'm just kidding, but that'd be pretty bad if they get a sign request from some schmuck from Box. All right, so I just got 3 people. So a few things we can do here. So the question was about multiple recipients and resizing, so customizing the request. So I have 2 recipients here. I can add them as a group. So let's say we need to get something signed. There's 3 people qualified to be able to sign off on something. You can add all 3, but only one of them is required to sign it. You can add all 3 for a visibility, if you will, and then one of them signs this. Another thing you can do, first off, I'm going to add them. I could specify a signing order, and I have a demo this afternoon on this. So let's say it has to go to person 1 to sign off, and then once that person signs off, it needs to go to another person. We can specify that, or we can have it just where it goes out to everybody assigned at one time. The second part of the question is, how do we change the size of the signature box? Well, we can drag and drop that over here, and that's kind of ugly. We hover our mouse, we can just move that like that, and this one, oops, should be able to shrink it down. Not sure why it's not shrinking. There we go. We can shrink it down, and here's your pro tip. You can hit Control-C, Control-V, and copy that. So if you refine a box, and you like that size, and you don't want to keep doing it X amount of times, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. I can drag and drop it over here. And these fields are all color-coded. I have 2 signatures here, but they're the same color. That's my visual clue that I need to confirm they're assigned to the right person. So click Signature, and I want my green person. They'll sign. So now I can do the same thing with date. Again, that's automatically assigned to that person. Come down to date signed. I got 2 green ones. Come over to here. I can change. A few other options. We can shrink the font down if we'd like. We can change the font. We only got 3 options here. And then the external identifier, very seldom used, but it's actually, you won't be needing that one. So we'll skip that. But yeah, that's how you can customize this. Again, we have several fields created by default. Then we have a wildcard. And this text input, this is probably one of my favorites, honestly, because you can add this where it's pre-filled text. So if you have directions, context, whatever it is, you can have that in there. You can also make it be a field. You could call it whatever, and then garner extra information from that signer. So if you need I don't know, a custom field like car make and model. You could create a field for make, a field for car, whatever you'd like. So text input is your wildcard that you can fill out. And again, with these, you can also make the text, field, you can make the text input fields required, not required, whatever you'd like. So we're really going to be double clicking into box sign this afternoon. It's kind of a high level overview. And again, change where you have that signed document go. So if I have this in a particular project, I think my projects are in here. Actually, not project. This is a great example of I don't remember where all my folders are, so I'm just going to type in the name. There we go. There we go. So if I want to put this in my my Ohana Festival project, I can have that signed document go into that folder once it's finished. Yes, ma'am. Great question. All right, so your source document stays where it currently is in Box. And to repeat the question is essentially what goes into that folder that I just called out here, the Ohana Festival. So your source file stays where it is. The folder that I just changed right here, this will now house the signed document and the signing log. So in addition to this folder, there's going to be a duplicate of the signing requests in your you'll have a My Signed Documents folder at your root level right here. So it's kind of an extra safety net so that you never lose a signed document. So from the sign request, you can choose where the signed documents go, and by default, it goes into a My Signed Documents folder right in here. Fantastic question. All right, yes, ma'am. Please. You, okay, so you need to update your source file. So this is pretty advanced. You want to see? Yeah, we'll be talking about a bunch. Well, you got me real excited to show a real cool pro tip for you. And you open the door. Yeah, we got the time. I want to show you a cool pro tip right here. So in your scenario, let's say, shoot, all these are PDFs, so I can't really fully live demo it. Huh? Okay.
Can I have an immediate, this happened 24 hours ago, someone did a festival versus sent me a blank document.
Uh-huh.
Not a fillable one.
Okay.
Our favorites, be lazy, put it all in and send it for signature. But, so what I needed to do was put those texts in there.
Uh-huh.
Fill out the information they require, and then sign it myself and send it to this person in camera ready.
Okay. So you could use those text fields that are wildcards and update those. It's kind of tough resizing to get them into the spaces, but if you have a blank canvas, if you will, maybe you had a little freedom. But yeah, you could do that. So that's one option. To the first question about updating the source document that you have to get signed. So ride along with me for a second. So these are templates right here. So let's just take this template. We can use this right here. So this is, on the back end, we're copying the source PDF template and putting it into box sign. Now, let's just, for example's sake, this paragraph right here needs to be changed. The verbiage needs to be changed. And I already have this template. If I have access to the Word document, the source Word document, I can come into here, into that source Word document, make my changes, save it, create a PDF. So I have that created PDF. And then what I can do in the templates folder, it's in my Augusta U workspace. So online course waiver. I can come to that source document, whichever one it is. Yeah, I think it's this one right here. And we can right click. And of course, UI, there we go. We can right click and then upload new version. So you save that Word document as a PDF, you can upload a new version, and that would upload to the new PDF, and then that would be your template. Now, as long as the text didn't change too drastically and the boxes are pretty much in the same location, you should be good to go. If they did change, then that means when you open the template, you might need to revise sizing a little bit. But I think to the question, can we update a source document that is templatized? You would do that. Update the source Word doc, make it a PDF, and then right-click, upload new version, and then it should be there. So, yeah, we got office hours as well. We can get our hands dirty if you got anything, and we could talk about it further there. Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see. So right here, yes.
So when you see Jesse there, Jesse needs to sign first. So I noticed when I go to specific order, it only puts that 1, 2, 3, those people behind my name. So what I'm having to do is drag my name,
Yeah.
signature, then come back and select specific sign order, and it puts me at 1.
Yeah, great question. So the question, essentially, the question was as the originator of the sign request, why do I have to add myself in there as a signer, I think? Is that? Or,
Sign order, as it is now, I see 1 and 2.
yeah.
I need to sign it first.
Oh, so you need to, gotcha.
For me to get it to sign first, I have to put my name there, then go back up
So,
sign order, and then put that.
so the question, or the statement and around why is, actually, I know the answer. It's really hard for me to restate the question for the recording. But what you need to do is request signature. If you request sign myself, that will automatically have you there first. Where's my document? Let's just choose one from box. Because what you're doing is request signature, and so it's seeing that you're not somebody that's signing it, and so therefore you manually have to be added, and then you have to reorder yourself. So where's the contract? Right here. Let's just take this contract. So if you go, actually, do you know what? I think we just stumbled upon a pain point in Box. Because I was going to say, if you sign yourself, or if you hit sign myself, we don't have the option to add more. That's actually a really good call out in Box, and my workaround wasn't going to work. So you're requesting a signature, and you need to be a signer, so you're going to have to add yourself first.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Open it up where you have 3 people. So you have yourself. So now go to your little arrow to the side of your name. Now change it to where you're a signer
Yeah, I am.
and do that. Now, can't you just change the number?
Yeah, I could just change the number. Yeah, 1. Right.
Request signature, there's no number by my name.
Because it doesn't see you as a signer, it just sees you as a person that receives the copy.
Yeah.
So you can,
No, but I have to sign it.
That's where you have to change it. Arrow and change it to where you're a signer. That's what I was saying.
Here, let's go request signature, because I think the other thing that we need to do here is if I drag and drop that first one, assign it to me. So now, there we go. So, yeah, so that's your,
It's not like that at the beginning. It does not come like that. That's what I'm trying to say is, when you're ready to send the document, my name just is there. Then I add the 2 people. I'm sorry. Then I add the 2 people, right? So when I go specific signing order right there, without the number 1 by my name,
Right.
it doesn't put my.
yeah, so the reason being, you're hitting request signature, you're adding the emails, you don't have a number next to your name because by default, you're the sender of that, And so it is an extra step to add you or to call yourself out as a signer because you have to add a field and then assign that to yourself. And then once you have a field assigned to yourself, then you can reorganize this.
Right, so
And
that's-
so yeah, that is a pain point, and actually brings up or makes me think of this. As you see things in Box, if you got suggestions about Box, pain points, things you'd like to see, go to pulse.box.com. Let us know. I think that's a fantastic use case because as the gentleman was speaking, I thought, oh, well, or sign something myself. Well, if you hit sign something myself, that automatically adds you and only you as the signer, and then you can't add other people. So his workflow, 100% right. And so like that's a great example of something like, let us know, pulse.box.com. Folks can review suggestions and upvote, because I'm sure you're not the only one that's had that pain point. Great call out. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it. Yes, ma'am. Oh, hold on, there's a microphone coming.
Another pain point that I found, like versus DocuSign, like if I said that I needed to sign the document, I necessarily didn't have to sign the document, but with Box, you have to physically sign it for it to continue. You have to drop a signature somewhere on the document.
I'm not following the question.
So like for me, I do a lot of fill in the blanks for my boss. And I just need her to sign what I've put in. But if I add myself as a signer and not gone in and pre-fill the text, like when she signs, I have to physically drop my signature somewhere on the document for it to continue to her versus me just filling in what I needed to do and it's shooting off.
Okay, so what you need to do, oh, I got a great example of that one. Templates, which one is this now? I believe it's the alcohol beverage one. Okay, so what I'm thinking, you need to take off the signature field. So this is an alcohol beverage form. And so right here, this is from a template, there are 3 signers on this. The person that's making the request needs to submit all this information, which I think is what you're doing. So you need to fill out all these fields. And then once all these fields are filled out, then it goes to placeholder number 2, our green signature, so the dean. Once the dean signs it, then it goes to Dr. Tomova, and then they sign it. And so I think you just need to remove that signature box on that document and just keep all these fields assigned to you, and then you should be fine, and you don't need to sign. So, yeah. Awesome question. Great use.
This part later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have office hours. I'm here all day, and I don't know where I'm going to dinner tonight, but you know, if you want to meet me there, we can. All right, great questions, everybody. These have been fantastic, and thank you for laughing, folks. All right, any other questions from folks? Is there what? Yeah, this afternoon, we are going to talk about box sign. We're going to get very granular in box sign. I got my notes for this afternoon. My computer's taking its sweet time. There we go. Yeah, this afternoon, we're going to be talking about box sign. We're going to talk about relay, forms, DocGen, some more of the e-advanced functionality. So essentially, in addition to box sign, we're going to be talking about how we can automate processes and how we can streamline things. So those repeatable tasks that you do all day, every day, think about those things that you can hand off to a computer. So we'll talk about how we can automate folder structures, talk about how we can ingest content via a form, and we'll show how we can automatically assign tasks, add collaborators. A lot of fun. Excuse me? Yeah, batch send. Yeah, we'll show you how we. Yep. Yeah, we'll show you all that. Yeah, fantastic. What time do we got? 9:20. All right. 10:20. Oh, I'm sorry. My computer's still on Central Time. I was going to say I've only been talking 20 minutes. Well, hey, I thank you all so much for your time for the last hour or so. Again, as I mentioned, we're here all day. Look forward to hearing more questions you have. So thank you so much.